Am I to incarnate your ideal? Asked Wanda with a mischievous air when we met in the park today. At first, I could find no answer. The most contradictory feelings battled within me. She sat down on one of the stone benches and began to play with a flower. Well then, shall I? I knelt before her and took her hands. I beg of you once more, be my wife, my faithful and honest wife. But if you cannot, then be my ideal, entirely and without reservations. You know that I will give you my hand in a year's time if you turn out to be the man for me, replied Wanda seriously. But I do believe you would be grateful if I were to realize your fantasies. Come now, which would you prefer? I believe that everything I have imagined is already present in your nature. You are under an illusion. I believe, I continued, that you are quite delighted to have a man entirely in your power, and that you would enjoy tormenting him. No, no, she cried. And yet, she looked thoughtful. I do not understand myself any longer, but I have a confession to make. You have so corrupted my imagination and inflamed my blood that I am beginning to find all this enjoyable. The enthusiasm with which you speak of such women as La Pompadour, Catherine II, and all these selfish, cruel, and frivolous creatures thrills me to the depths of my soul. I am prompted to become like these women who, in spite of their wicked ways, were slavishly worshipped all their lives and even after death. You are turning me into a miniature despot, a household pompadour. Well then, I said feverishly, if it is in you, follow your natural bent, but no half measures. If you cannot be a true and loyal wife, then be a demon. Excitement and lack of sleep and the proximity of such a beautiful woman had reduced me to a feverish state. I cannot remember what I said, but I know that I kissed her feet and lifted one of them to place it on my neck. She quickly withdrew it and rose almost angrily. If you love me, Severin, she said sternly, never speak of this again. Do you hear? Never again, or I might really. She smiled and sat down again. I am perfectly serious, I replied. I adore you to such a degree that I am prepared to put up with anything for the sake of spending my life by your side. Severin, again, I am warning you. Your warnings are in vain. You may do as you will with me, only never send me away. Severin, said Wanda, I am a young and frivolous woman. It is dangerous for you to surrender so totally to me. You will end up by becoming my plaything. Who will protect you then? I might take unfair advantage of your folly. You are too noble to dream of that. Power makes one presumptuous. Then be presumptuous, I cried. Trample on me. Wanda clasped her hands behind my neck and gazed into my eyes. I am afraid of not being capable of it, but for you I am willing to try, for I love you, Severin, as I have loved no other man. Today she suddenly put on her hat and shawl and ordered me to come shopping with her. She asked to see some whips, long ones with short handles such as are used on hounds. These should be suitable, said the shopkeeper. No, they are much too small, she said, giving me a sidelong glance. I need a big one. For a bulldog, I suppose, said the shopkeeper. Yes, she cried, like those they use in Russia on disobedient slaves. After some searching, she finally chose a whip, the very sight of which made me shiver. Now goodbye, Severin, she said. There are a few other things that I want to buy alone. I took leave of her and went for a walk. On my return, I caught sight of Wanda coming out of a furrier's. She beckoned to me. You ought to think again, she said gleefully. I have never hidden the fact that I am fascinated by your combination of sensuality and earnestness. I am thrilled at the idea that the most serious-minded man in the world could be entirely devoted to my person and actually lying at my feet in ecstasy. But will my excitement last? A woman can begin by loving a man, then she treats him like a slave, and finally she kicks him away. Very well then, kick me away when you have had enough of me. I want to be your slave. I am aware of dangerous forces lurking within me, said Wanda, after we had gone a few steps. You are awakening them, and it will do you no good. You paint such an attractive picture of pleasure-seeking, cruelty, and arrogance. What would you say if I were to try my hand at them and make you my first victim? Remember the story of the tyrant Dionysius and the man who invented the torture of the bronze ox. To try out this new method of torture, Dionysius had the inventor shut up inside it and roasted alive to see whether his moans really imitated the lowing of an ox. Perhaps I am a female Dionysius. Be one, I cried. All my dreams would be fulfilled. I belong to you for better or for worse. You must make the choice. I am driven by the destiny that has taken hold of me, a diabolical and all-powerful fate. My beloved, I do not wish to see you today or tomorrow, only the evening of the day after, and then as my slave, your mistress, Wanda. As my slave was underlined, I read the note, which I had received early in the morning, a second time. I then saddled the little donkey and took to the mountains, to find relief from my yearning in the beauty of the Carpathian scenery. I returned tired, hungry, and above all in love. I quickly changed my clothes and knocked at her door. Come in. I enter. She is standing in the middle of the room, wearing a gown of white satin that ripples over her body like liquid light, a red velvet casabeca edged with rich ermine. A small diamond tiara rests on her powdered hair. She stands with her arms folded, a frown on her face. Wanda! I run to put my arms around her and kiss her, but she retreats a step and eyes me from head to foot. Slave. Mistress. I kneel and kiss the hem of her gown. That is better. Oh, how beautiful you are. Do I please you? She postures in front of the mirror and looks at herself with proud satisfaction. You drive me to distraction. She gives a slight pout of contempt and looks at me with narrowed, mocking eyes. Give me the whip. I look about the room. No, she cries, stay on your knees. She goes over to the mantelpiece, takes the whip off the ledge and, watching me with a smile, makes it whistle through the air. Then she slowly rolls up the sleeves of her fur jacket. Wonderful woman. The words escape from my mouth. Quiet, slave. She scowls and suddenly strikes me with the whip. The next moment she bends over me with compassion and tenderly strokes the back of my neck. Did I hurt you? She asks, torn between fear and shame. No, I reply, and even if you had, the pain you cause is pure delight. Whip me if it gives you pleasure. But it does not give me pleasure. Again the strange dizziness overcomes me. Whip me, I implore. Whip me without mercy. Wanda brandishes the whip and strikes twice. Have you had enough now? No. Seriously not? Whip me, I beg of you. It is a joy to me. Yes, because you know very well that I am not in earnest, she replies, and that I have not the heart to do you harm. These barbaric games revolt me. If I were really the kind of woman who whips her slave, you would be filled with horror. No, Wanda, I love you more than myself. I am utterly devoted to you. In all seriousness, you may do whatever you wish with me, whatever your whims dictate. Severin. Tread on me, I cry, throwing myself before her. I dislike play acting, said Wanda impatiently. Then hurt me in earnest. A disturbing silence. Severin, I am warning you one last time. If you love me, be cruel to me, I implore. If I love you, repeats Wanda. Very well. She backs away and looks at me with a threatening smile. Be my slave and know what it means to be at the mercy of a woman. Whereupon she gives me a kick. How do you like that? She brandishes the whip. Get up. I begin to rise. Not that way, she orders. Stay on your knees. I obey and she proceeds to whip me. The blows fall thick and fast on my back and arms. One of them cuts into my flesh and the burn lingers on, but the pain delights me, for it comes from her whom I adore and for whom at any moment I am ready to lay down my life. She stops. I am beginning to enjoy it, she says. That is enough for today. But a diabolical curiosity has taken hold of me. I want to see how far your strength will go. I have a dreadful desire to see you tremble under my whip, to see you suffer, to hear at last your moans and screams, your cries for mercy, while I go on whipping you without pity until you lose consciousness. Yes, You have awakened dangerous tendencies in me. Now get up. I seize her hand and press it to my lips. What impudence! She shoves me away with her foot. Out of my sight, slave. I wake after a feverish night troubled by nightmares. The dawn is just breaking. Which of my confused memories are real? What have I experienced? What have I merely dreamed? I have been whipped, that much is certain. I can still feel each blow. I can count the burning wheels on my body. And it was she who whipped me. Yes, now I know it all. My dream has come true. What now? Has the realization of my fantasy liberated me? No, I am merely a little tired, and her cruelty fills me with rapture. Oh, how I love her, how I worship her. I cannot begin to express my feelings and the extent of my devotion to her. What bliss to be her slave. She calls me from her balcony. I race upstairs and find her standing on the doorstep, holding out a friendly hand. I am so ashamed, she says. I put my arms around her, and she rests her head on my shoulder. Why? Try to forget yesterday's horrible scene, she says in a trembling voice. For your sake, I satisfied these mad wishes. Now let us be reasonable. We shall be happy and love each other, and in a year's time I shall be your wife. My mistress, I cry, and I your slave. Not another word about slavery, cruelty, or whips, interrupts Wanda. The only thing I shall still grant you is the fur jacket. Come and help me into it. The little bronze clock surmounted by a cupid informed us that it was midnight. I rose and prepared to leave. Wanda said nothing but embraced me, drew me back onto the ottoman, and began to kiss me again. This silent language was so easy to understand and so persuasive. It told me more than I dared interpret. A languid abandon came over her whole being. What voluptuous softness in her half-closed eyes, in her red hair shimmering under the white powder. The red and white satin rustled with each of her movements, and the ermine caressed her shoulders with a snake-like movement. I beg of you, I stammered, but you will be angry. Do with me what you will, she whispered. I belong to you. Then trample me underfoot, I implore you, or I shall go mad. Have I not forbidden you, said Wanda. You are incorrigible. Alas, I am dreadfully in love. I fell on my knees and hid my burning face in her lap. I really believe, said Wanda thoughtfully, that your madness is nothing but an unsatisfied, diabolical sensuality. Such afflictions are a product of our monstrous side. If you were less virtuous, you would be perfectly sane. Then make me sane, I murmured. My hands ran wild over her hair and over the gleaming fur that rose and fell with her breast like a moonlit ocean, and threw my senses into confusion. I kissed her. No, she kissed me, wildly, passionately, as though she wanted to devour me. I was almost delirious, and had long since lost my reason. Panting, I tried to free myself from her arms. What is wrong? Asked Wanda. I am suffering horribly. You are suffering? She broke into playful laughter. You may well laugh, I moaned. Have you no notion? Suddenly she became serious again, took my head in her hands, and pressed me to her breast. Wanda, I stammered. You really do enjoy suffering, she said, and laughed again. But wait, I shall bring you to your senses. I shall no longer ask whether you want to belong to me forever or only for a brief instant, I cried. I want to enjoy my happiness to the full. You are mine at this moment, and I prefer to lose you than never to possess you. Now you are being unreasonable, she said, kissing me again with those fiendish lips. I tore off the ermine jacket and the lace and felt her naked bosom heaving against mine. Then I lost consciousness. The first thing I remember is when I saw blood dripping from my hand and asked her in a flat voice, Did you scratch me? No, I believe I bit you.